The number one question I get asked, why Dumaguete? Why don't you go to Manila? Why don't you go to Cebu? Why don't you go to a private island? Why'd you go to the Philippines? Well, I'm 63. I've been thinking about this 5-10 years. I wanted to go to the desert in Arizona. That's what I wanted to do. Buy 5 acres, $10,000. Septic and a water, $10,000. Tesla house, $20,000. $50,000, you're done. You can ride around. You can go to Las Vegas. I don't gamble in Las Vegas. There's a million things to do in Las Vegas. I like to look at the paintings and the architecture. I like to go to the desert and look at the airplanes at the boneyards. That's really what I wanted to do. But then, the Philippines is turnkey. You don't have to do nothing when you get here. Now, you got to be smart. You got to do your research. I've been researching the Philippines for a year before I came here. Before I buy a truck, I research it. Before I buy a dirt bike, I research it. I research a chainsaw. I probably spend 10 hours online researching a chainsaw and a weed eater before I buy it. Now, why Dumaguete? Everything is about your pocketbook. When people vote in America, they vote their pocketbook. Now, when you come here, you got to think about how much money do I have? How much money can I budget per month? What is my pension? What is my savings? Do I have steady income from America? Now, you need to be 20-30% below your pension. Your savings, don't touch it. Touch it for eye surgery. Touch it to buy cash for a used vehicle. Touch it to buy a new motorcycle. Don't buy a used scooter or motorcycle. Don't do it. Buy a new one, a new scooter or a new motorcycle. Use it sparingly because you will die on a scooter here. Now, why Dumaguete? I studied different cities for a year. I studied the vloggers, which half of what they say is true. They're trying to make content. Every time you hear me come on here and talk, I don't have a script. I don't have a script. I don't write things down. I don't have a teleprompter. I speak from my brain and my heart. This is the way I talk. Now, Dumaguete, it's in the middle of all the islands, protected from the typhoons. Do we have little earthquakes here? Yeah, I've had 2 earthquakes since I've been here. Everything just rattles for 5 or 6 seconds and then it's over. I'm not in a high rise. I would never live in a high rise because if you have a big earthquake, it's not going to be good. The flooding, there's no flooding here. There's no typhoons here. There's piddling earthquakes. There's earthquakes everywhere. It's cheap to live here. There's virtually no crime here. The only place there's real traffic is like within a quarter of a mile in downtown. And I go through that 3 minutes a day. It's inexpensive to live here. I go to eat good food for $5 every day, sometimes $3, you know. You gotta live below your means. You need to live 20-30% below your pension and your savings never touch it. You need to let that savings always be doing this. If you start doing this, you're not gonna last here. If you go eat $40 meals and take trip, you're gonna go like this in 2 years. You're gonna be broke. You gotta be smart. You got to learn to say, no. Everyone will ask you for money here. You have to say no. I learned to say no when I was 30. I'm a very generous person. I like to help people. I'm good to people. I see a need. I want to meet it. That's a gift. That's not a negative. That's a gift. You will never be more like Jesus than when you give. Others. Think about others. Don't be a narcissist. Think about others. I'm a very generous person. I like to give. But you got to learn when to say no. There's a difference in meeting a need and people taking advantage of you. Because people will take advantage of you. Here, they'll take advantage of you anywhere. But you've got to live below your means. You got to find an accommodation that's lesser than what you really wanted. I wanted to be on the beach. I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to be on the beach. And I thought about it. But after staying here a month and hearing the loud mufflers and the roosters and the constant blaring noise, I learned a lot. Because the first few houses I looked at were in the middle of the city. When they have a parade, the city is shut down. Some days, they play that loud music all day long, and it will drive you crazy. I like peace and quiet. I like to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and have 2 or 3 hours, no noise. Now, about 5 o'clock, the roosters come out. I don't even hear them anymore. They're crowing out there now. I'm oblivious to rooster noise. But I picked a place away from the city. It's cooler. It's cheaper. I have a concrete road that leads to my house. If you get a place that's nice and it's a dirt road, it's going to be bad when it rains. So pick a place that's cheaper than what you really want. And you got to know how to negotiate that. No deal is better than a bad deal. I am not going to broadcast on YouTube the way to get a good deal. If you want to know how, you're going to have to contact me and let me tell you by phone or message or something like that. Because I'm not saying anything negative about the Philippines ever. You will never hear me say anything negative about the Philippines. So, live below your means. Find a place that's turnkey. You don't have to do anything. I looked at some places where I got to negotiate with the landlord, this is broke, this doesn't work, there's not an air conditioner, there's not this, there's not this, there's not this. Don't even get involved with that. There's too many good places that are turnkey. If your real estate person is not taking you to see what you want and taking you where you want and showing you what you want, get a new one. I went through 3 real estate people. I think 5 really, before I found someone that took me to the properties that I want to see, not what they want to push. So I've got a good real estate person, and I can explain to you that process so you don't waste your time. Now, food. You have got to learn where to go, where it's inexpensive and you won't get sick. Because I eat for $5 a day. I may go some days and eat $8, but most of the time I eat $3 or $4 a day. For lunch, breakfast, I cook it. Dinner, I cook it. I can buy a month's groceries for $50. I can eat $5, $8 a day, $200, $150 a month. Now, I don't leave my air conditioner on all the time. When I leave my house, I turn everything off, including my air conditioner. When I come home, I usually leave at 9 in the morning. I come home 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I go to the city all day. I go to the beach. I go to the city. I go to the mountains. I ride my motorcycle. I make videos. So I turn everything electrical off. The only thing that's running in this house is my refrigerator, When I come home in the evening, I turn my air conditioner on a preset temperature, and I got 2 fans, and I'm fine. I'm not living in the heat and the hot and sweaty. I like to be nice and cool at night, comfortable temperature. And then when I get up in the morning, it's cool. I turn it all off. So I'm not burning through electricity. Water bills, $2, $4 a month. Electrical bill is less than $100 a month. My Wi-Fi is $28 a month. So I'm below $1,000 a month. Easy. And I feel like I live like a king, So that's what you got to think about. Why Dumaguete? It's not crowded. It's inexpensive to live. It's protected from the typhoons. It's protected from the earthquakes. The people are nice. There's virtually no crime here. I've never seen any crime. I've heard of any crime or anything. Now, you go to Manila, that's different, you know. But Dumaguete, it's on the ocean. I can be at the ocean in 10 minutes. I can be at the mountains in 10 minutes. I can be at the market in 10 minutes. I go to Robinson Mall to eat. Now, if I have to get something small for groceries, I go to Robinson Supermarket. You know, it's not expensive, but why pay $3 if you can pay $1.50? I usually go to Hypermarket, which is 2 minutes from Robinson Mall. Hypermarket is like a Costco on steroids. I go there and I buy in bulk. I buy 2 cases of water. I buy 2 cases of Gatorade. You know, I spend my money wisely. You got to do the Philippines like a buffet. You got to do the YouTube vloggers like a buffet. When you go to the buffet, you don't take everything on the menu. You take what you want that applies to you. Now, with the Bible, a lot of people do the Bible like that. They use the Bible like a buffet. They take what they want and they leave the rest. With the Bible, you got to take all of it. You know, you can't say, well, I'm going to obey this one and this one and this one, but I'm not going to obey these others. They pick and choose from the Bible. You can't be like that with the Bible. You got to take the whole thing. But when you come here, you got to be smart with your food. You got to be smart with your living where you live. You got to pay cash for a used vehicle. Now, I made a mistake. I bought a truck and I didn't take it to Ford and let them check it out. It cost me a little bit of money, now $2,000. But a used truck is $50,000. You can get a used truck for half that because people drive slow here. There's not a road where you can do 100 miles an hour. They drive slow. We're on an island. They're not driving cross country in America 10,000 miles a year. You know, a used vehicle is the same as a new vehicle here, but you have to take it to the dealership and get it checked out. So save on food, save on transportation, pick a place that has good weather and it's safe, not a lot of traffic. Dumaguete is the best. Now, there are places that are comparable to Dumaguete. Dumaguete just happened to suit me. I like Dumaguete. I like the food. I like the people. Now, you have to learn to say no in a lot of circumstances. I get sometimes 10 a day. People ask me for money. Buy this, buy this, buy this. Can I borrow? Can I borrow? Can I borrow? Can you take this and give me some money and I'll buy it back later? You get that every week. I get sometimes 5 a day. And I get 10, 15 a week. And I'm not running an orphanage. And I'm not running a pawn shop. And I'm not an ATM. And I'm not running a bank. So you got to learn to say no. Your heart will break seeing some of the poor people and some of the beggars and stuff. I usually always give them some money. You know, I'm not giving them a lot of money. I'm giving them, you know, a couple of pesos, which is not a lot of money. So, but you got to think about why you came here. You came here to retire. You didn't come here to fund the whole city and be an orphanage or a pawnbroker or a bank loan officer. You know, that's not the reason you came here. So, the number one question people ask me, why Dumaguete? That's the reason I like Dumaguete. I researched it and I did the hard work of studying the people, the money, the housing. You know, I could leave this house right now. I pay $600 a month. I got a nice house with a big backyard and a big front yard. Right behind me, there's 4 little private apartments that are new. I could get that for $300 a month. And the more I think about it, I might end up moving there one day. But I mean, wow, this is comfortable. I'd like to be able to walk. I like to cut the grass. That's therapeutic for me. To cut the grass and trim the little trees and use the weed eater. That's therapeutic for me. So you got to think about that too. What is therapeutic for you? You know, I need my privacy. I need my exercise, my location. I need quiet. I don't do drama. I don't do screaming and hollering. I don't like a lot of problems. Right now, I am problem free. I have not one problem. My only problem is, am I gonna get a salad or spaghetti or chicken for lunch? That's my problem. What am I gonna have for lunch today? And then my biggest problem, carrot cake, chocolate cake, brownie. Oh, which am I gonna get? You know, that's my only problem. So, why Dumaguete? That's why. If you want some advice, I can give you the advice. I'm not gonna give you clickbait and hyper advice and a lot of BS like some people on these vlogs do. Some of these vlogs are just, once you come here and see things for real, and then, why is this guy saying that? This guy's crazy. They're saying it for views. My channel, I'm an honest person. I don't do clickbait. I'm speaking from the heart. Why Dumaguete? I think Dumaguete is the best. If you're considering the Philippines, contact me and I can advise you. Or go on YouTube, watch the vloggers, watch the YouTube documentaries about Dumaguete. You know, I spent a good bit of time researching the hotel when I first got here. When I first got here, your hotel, your first 2 or 3 weeks can make or break your experience. If you get a bad hotel in 3 weeks, you'll be looking at plane tickets to go home. I had a nice hotel with nice, forgiving, accommodating people that worked there, that treated me so nice. So you need to research everything. One of the best videos I watched before I came here is about patience. Don't come here thinking you're in America where everything's gonna be like this, because I like everything like this. In America, some days on Saturday, I would leave at 6:30 in the morning. I would look at 10 or 15 tree jobs and get back at 7:30 at night, trying to work and make money. If somebody was 10 minutes late, I left and I blocked them. I didn't deal with them. They call me back, oh, I'm sorry. No, if you're 10 minutes late with me, you're done in America. Now, when you come to the Philippines, they got Filipino time. They got a clock with 12 numbers and there's no hands. There's no hands on the clock. Philippine time is different than American time. Now, does it irritate me? Yes. But I watched a video before I came here about being patient. Things move slower here. You know, there's a lot of paperwork. It took me 2 months to get the registration for my motorcycle. In America, I mean, you get it in an hour. It took me 3 months to get an ACR card to get a bank account. And I still don't have a bank account because it takes 6 months to get a bank account. Now, because I'm good at the bank and I'm nice and polite and I speak to everybody nicely and I take them a carrot cake and I take them a chocolate cake, I'm getting my bank account in half the time. They're making special procedures for Glenn because Glenn treats people nice. I treat everybody nice. I'm nice to everybody. So you cannot come here and be an ugly American. You have to come here and understand you're in the Philippines. They're not changing their ways. You're not going to change them. And you have to be patient and accepting and kind. That's the way you got to be. And I watched that video and it helped me more than anything, because as soon as I got here, that hit me. You got to be patient. Now, as soon as I got off that airplane, well, I'll talk about that in the next video. But why Dumaguete? That's why. If you need some honest, straightforward, it's not sugar-coated advice, you contact me and I will tell you the good and the bad about Dumaguete. Here's the good, here's the bad. I mean, you got this much bad about Dumaguete, but it's not even worth discussing the bad. There's not anything bad about Dumaguete. It's the perfect city. So, why Dumaguete? That's why. I love Dumaguete. I love the Dumaguete sign.